As always, we begin with oil, but this time, because it's thin trading today, we're going to be looking at how oil performed in 2024, because oil is going to dominate the 2025 discourse in terms of what Donald Trump is going to do, non-OPEC plus countries pumping into the global supplies and so on. So Brent crude settled at $77.04 as of the end of 2024, down about 3% compared to the prior year of 2023. WTI, that's West Texas Intermediate, was flat about $71.72, although it was right below $70 much throughout 2024. It was pretty much flat against 2023. So oil, basically $70 region is what we've seen so far in 2024. Now, why was that? Well, non-OPEC members that are not part of the petroleum exporting countries, the Organization of Petroleum Countries, they flooded the market with lots of oil in 2024. Brasilia, Canada, the United States, and so on and so forth. So that, of course, depressed prices because you had more supply, even with OPEC taking off about 2.2 million barrels off the market. And remember, we covered this towards the end of last year, right? I have to be careful now, we're in 2025. Towards the latter half of 2024, we covered how OPEC Plus on 2-3 occasions resisted adding more barrels of oil to the market. We also had weak demand from China. I mean, we had just eons of data coming out from China, weak industrial exports, a deflationary environment, stimulus not quite hitting where it needs to. China, of course, large consumer of oil, weak demand contributed to that. However, we have a Reuters poll that projects that oil is going to be in the $70 region for 2025. So we're going to be watching oil closely. Nigeria, of course, for the 2025 budget, $75. Nigeria's benchmark for oil in 2024 was $77.96. This year of 2025, it's $75. So we're going to watch that closely, as well as how oil impacts it. So more news. Now, this is the big news for the new year. The Russia gas exports that go via Ukraine to the rest of Europe, they have been halted. This deal has been in place for about 40 years. Russia, of course, is a large exporter of gas. They've got a Turkish pipeline that runs through the bottom of the Black Sea. One of it goes to Turkey domestically. The rest of it goes to Central Europe, Hungary, Serbia. They've got, of course, the Nord Stream pipeline. That, of course, was blown up in about 2002. And so then they've got this pipeline, of course, that's going through Ukraine. It's a 5-year transit deal that ended, of course, January the 1st of 2025. Of course, the deal was renewed in 2020. Now, at that time, Russia shipped about 65 billion cubic meters of gas over to Europe. That was in 2020. It fell to about 15 billion cubic meters via Ukraine in 2023. The war in Ukraine, of course, Russia's invasion of Ukraine did impact that. Europe tried to punish Russia by severing ties to collect gas from Russia. That impacted Europe, particularly Germany. Much of the weakness that we saw in Germany's economy last year was due to the fact that they were not able to get gas from Russia and they had to look for gas elsewhere. Impacted the UK, impacted a lot of Europe. Now, Gazprom is estimated to lose about $5 billion in gas sales as a result of these pipelines in Ukraine being halted. Ukraine is also set to lose as well, because Ukraine is estimated to lose about $800 million a year in fees for the gas to go through its pipeline. So this is, again, the big news for today with respect to what's going on in the oil and gas space. We've got a couple statements, one from Gazprom and another from the energy minister in Ukraine. So we're going to take a look at a couple of those statements right now. Gazprom basically put out a statement through Telegram stating that as of today, those the gas supplies through the pipeline have essentially been halted. So, okay, we unfortunately can't get it up though, but that's basically what it is. And then also Ukraine's energy minister. Okay, here we go. We did get it up. So here is the Gazprom statement. It says, due to the repeated and clearly expressed refusal of the Ukrainian side to renew these agreements, Gazprom was deprived of the technical and legal ability to supply gas for transit through the territory of Ukraine from January the 1st of 2025. And they put that through Telegram. On Ukraine's side, They actually did confirm this, and Ukraine's energy minister was essentially celebrating this. This is German Galushchenko. He's the Ukraine energy minister. He says, we stopped the transit of Russian gas. This is a historic event. Russia is losing its markets. It will suffer financial losses. Europe has already made the decision to abandon Russian gas, but that has come with inflationary consequences with respect to not getting enough gas from Russia. So big developing story here. Of course, the backdrop of the war in Ukraine is also impacting this as well. So we're going to see what happens, but Russia is going to be impacted in terms of its ability to finance the war. Ukraine, I think Moldova, there's some other European nations that are going to be impacted by not being able to get gas through Ukraine. So there will be ramifications on both sides. So that's what we're seeing on the oil and gas space. We get to Korea. Big stories coming out of Korea. I mean, we'll get to the turbulent times that Korea has been, but Korea did get some good news with respect to exports, and that is trade. We got the latest numbers that just came out, I think it was either early this morning or yesterday. South Korea's December exports, this is year-on-year growth, 6.6% in December. The estimates were 4% growth for exports to the rest of the world, semiconductors, electronics, vehicles. South Korea is a giant. It was 1.4% in November. This, I think, is the 15th consecutive month of positive exports for South Korea. China, its biggest market, $133 billion in the month of December. 6.6% year-on-year growth. The USA, also a big market, 10.5% year-on-year growth, 127 billion. I think about $35 billion worth of exports in December were semiconductors, chips, AI and stuff like that. Although vehicle exports, did fall in December. So from there, we continue to look at what South Korea has been going through. This is, of course, their trade minister. It's funny how we have the energy minister of Ukraine, trade minister of South Korea. Everybody's talking about geopolitical concerns. This is An Duk-gyeon. He says the government of South Korea will team up with the private sector to minimize any negative impact from external uncertainty of the incoming U.S. administration and maximize new opportunities. Donald Trump is the big story. He's going to be inaugurated on the 19th. There is, of course, the fear of, the tariffs. You saw how much South Korea exports to the U.S., $123 billion. So you can imagine what the impact will be on trade in South Korea if Trump slams tariffs on them. So the U.S. is a massive market and very important to nations like South Korea. So again, just want to remind people of what South Korea has been through so far. There's been so much that's been going on. Political upheaval. You had that deadly crash. We covered this over the last few days. So President Yoon Suk Yeol, try saying that 20 times quickly. He was impeached, and then his stand-in, Han Dok-soo, he was impeached as well. We covered this since it's been happening. The Jeju airline crash that killed 179 people. The Kospi, we're going to get to indexes returns in 2024. The Kospi is the worst one, worst performing index in the Asia-Pacific region. The Korean won also being hit very hard against the US. So South Korea, airline tragedies, political upheaval, weak currency, bad index. It's just been, so those trade numbers are respite for South Korea, and we'll have to see how things work out. This year is, man, 2025, there's just so much to look at around the world. All right, now let's get to, the indexes. Did you invest in the U.S. stock market? The S&P 500, with the massive 500 companies there, 23.3% gain in 2024. It did 24.2% in 2023. So 4 of the last 6 years, the S&P 500 has returned double digits. That is 20% gains. The rally, of course, no surprise. We've covered AI on this show religiously, obsessively. It was AI, artificial intelligence exposed stocks like NVIDIA. NVIDIA did 176%. That was as much as Argentina's entire market, right? Argentina's equity market, the Merval, did about 177. NVIDIA alone, in fact, in June, for just a little bit of time in June, NVIDIA was the most valuable company in the world, leapfrogged Apple, leapfrogged Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So the S&P 500, massive returns if you invested in the stock market. We talk about it all the time. Invest in stocks. You're going to make money in the long run, despite some of the weaknesses there. So what else we got? I think we're looking at, Now, this doesn't cover all the exchanges across the world, right? This essentially is just some notable returns. I just mentioned the Merval in Argentina. It returned 172%. Nigeria did 36%, but those are in local currency returns. If you adjust for dollars, not that those returns are not the same. So the TAIEX in Taiwan, 28% gains, best performing index in Asia in 2024. The S&P 500 in the US, as we mentioned, 23.3%. The Nikkei 225, which was the best performing index in 2023, fell to third, it was second or third in Asia, 19%. You had the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, despite all the challenges, 18% returns. And then the CSI 300 in China, 14.7% gain, returning to double digits for the first time since 2020. As I mentioned, the Argentinian Merval, 177%. Hungary did like 38, 34%. So there are some markets we didn't pick out there, but there were some outsized returns across much of the world in 2024. So, where are you going to place your money? Meanwhile, the 500 richest people on planet Earth, their total wealth has exceeded $10 trillion. That is just an astounding figure. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, let's quickly run through the 8 technology titans. I mean, as far as the folks who were responsible, who gained the most from this. So you should know these 8 men, these 8 individuals in technology, their net worth increased by $600 billion. That was about 43% of the $1.5 trillion that the 500 wealthiest people in the world added in 2024. As I mentioned, the same reason that the S&P 500 did 23%, driven by artificial intelligence exposed stocks, is the reason why these 8 men did so well. So Elon Musk, look at the gap between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk, of course, as a result of helping Donald Trump to win the election, he's now an advisor. He has been massively assisted. $432 billion is his wealth, according to the Bloomberg Index, according to just as of today. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, $239 billion. This is one of the biggest gaps between first and second place. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta did about 64% this year, $207 billion. Larry Ellison of Oracle, $192 billion. He also added a lot of wealth. You've got Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who of course are the co-founders of Google. You've got Michael Dell, $124 billion, and Jensen Huang. Jensen Huang added, I think, about $65 billion to his net worth as a result of NVIDIA's 175% gain in 2024. So these 8 men in the tech, they're all men, but these 8 men in the technology space, $600 billion in net worth added in 2024. Again, the 500 richest people on planet Earth have a net worth of $10 trillion. It's just amazing stuff.